It's the opposite.
High fly ball. Deep left field. Oh, 27. Does it again.
Gone. Fernando Tatis Jr. with a two-run shot has the Padres on the board. Falling 2 strikes to Shohei here. Oh, got it! Got it! Got it! 33!
Oh, wow. Where did that one go? That's his 11th. Driven out to deep center field. Going back, Springer. Turning, looking. See ya! Oh, what a shot by Judge! The Yankees lead 1-0.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Free Baseball. It is Monday and it is 4 o'clock, so you know what that means. So here we are. We are here. We're back. Are you guys ready for Thursday? Are you ready?
You know it.
Oh, yeah.
See, the last time I was here, we were fantasizing. We literally had a fantasy draft because we just wanted to simulate how things would go along. And of course, you guys have had your show since then, so I'm glad to be back. It's a special occasion. It's a special
Welcome
occasion.
back.
Our
Yeah,
love
glad to be
letter.
back, man.
We can finally start writing our love letter like we talked about in the first show. So, and beforehand, we do have some news heading into opening day, as we always
Lots
do.
of it.
Yes, lots of it. So we might as well just get right to it. Unless you guys got any opening statements, how do you feel? Like, just
Pumped, bro. I
Feel
just
good.
had my home league draft with all my boys at home last night, and it was pretty crazy. I'm not feeling too confident. This might be the first year I get taken down.
I gotta say, my fantasy teams are looking really good. I mean, just from the outside looking in. What about you, Davis? How's everything?
No fantasy teams to talk about, but things are going good. Ready to talk some baseball.
Cool. And let's kick it off with, of course, we had one more trade. I mean, the free agency period is about over. There's still some signings to potentially go down, maybe in the beginning of the season. But Craig Kimbrell was traded to the Dodgers. Again, the Dodgers are just like playing MLB The Show. We need a hole. Let's get this guy the best version of what they could get. And they get Craig Kimbrell to replace Kenley Jensen. And I guess maybe we could talk about him a little bit later. What do you guys think? And for AJ Pollock, by the way, I didn't even really mention, but the White Sox get a bat there. Depending on how you feel about him, it's I don't know. What do you guys think? Start with you. Let's start with Davis. What do you think about that trade? I think.
At the time, I thought it was kind of a weird trade for the White Sox. I mean, they get AJ Pollock when it looks like they have somewhat of an opening in their outfield, but they got rid of Craig Kimbrell to take away from their bullpen. That looked like it was going to be really good so far. They added Graveman in the offseason, so I guess that made Kimbrell a little bit expendable. His contract is $16 million for the year. Didn't really pitch that well last year with the White Sox, but was really good with the Cubs. And I don't know, I would have bet on him more as a bounce back candidate than we need to get rid of this guy, especially for a team that's looking like they want to push for a World Series. But I don't know. I think it was a lateral move, just kind of making a hole in your bullpen for, filling a rotation spot, or not a rotation spot, a lineup spot. I don't know. I thought it was kind of meh on both sides, especially now that Kimbrell's kind of getting lit up in spring training, like really bad.
Mhm.
That's all I really have to say about it. What about you, Jake?
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. Obviously, the Dodgers had sort of a hole to fill after Jansen got signed by the Braves in the offseason. But Kimbrell's an elite closer. He's on the path to the Hall of Fame if he can get back on track. He obviously struggled really bad last year after his trade from the Cubs to the White Sox at the trade deadline last year. And that was because he wasn't closing. I think he's a guy that sort of like needs to be in that closer role or he's not going to be able to figure things out. So this should be pretty good for him, pitching for probably one of the best teams in baseball, going to have a lot of save opportunities. And for the White Sox side, AJ Pollock's pretty interesting. He's one of those guys that just seems to get injured every single year, so you got to worry about that. But they have him for 2 years, so that's sort of why this trade sort of makes sense. You got 2 years of control for Pollock, and Kimbrell's going to be a free agent after this season. So it's a pretty interesting one. I would say the Dodgers won this one. as they do most things. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. The Cubs, on the other hand, not in this trade, but they did trade half a year of Kimbrel to the White Sox for Nick Madrigal, and who else was it? Cody Hoyer. Yeah,
Hoyer.
that seems pretty good, especially because Kimbrel was really bad for the White Sox. That's looking good for the Cubs.
Right. I also saw Ken Rosenthal reported that the Rays balked at a chance to swap Austin Meadows for Craig Kimbrel. Now that Pete Fairbanks, I think, is supposed to miss the start of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of thought, I don't know. It doesn't really bode well if the Rays like pass on a guy because they really kind of seem to know what they're doing. But I don't know. I think if I was the White Sox, I almost would rather have Meadows than Pollock. But
definitely,
I don't know. Like I said, I think it's kind of a weird lateral move.
I think Kimbrel would fail the vibe check. You know, Tampa Bay, they like to have that closer by committee. They don't want to, so he wouldn't really fit in. But I know we were going to get to this later, but I especially think it's interesting now that Garrett Crotchet is going down with the Tommy John surgery. So that's another piece that the White Sox, another thing that they have to deal with now. Their bullpen does take a hit there, in my opinion. What are your guys' thoughts? And it seems like this is happening with every hard-throwing young arm. They seem to just go down every time, and it's super unfortunate. Like, what are your thoughts? And is there anything we could do about this? Is this just something we have to deal with?
More or less, I think it's something you just have to deal with. It's a fact of life with baseball. I mean, pitchers go through a lot of strain to throw a ball at 100 miles an hour plus, because humans aren't really supposed to be able to do that. It sucks. It sucks for the White Sox, and it sucks for Crochet, who honestly looked like he was either headed to be part of a rotation and somewhere in the future, but also potentially an all-star closer. I mean, or all-star relief pitcher. I mean, that bullpen's so loaded, even without Kimbrel or without Crochet. It sucks. There's not really a lot to do.
Definitely. Yeah, Crochet was one of those guys throwing 100 miles per hour from the left side, sort of like Aroldis Chapman in the younger days, which was pretty interesting. So, yeah, it's pretty disappointing. But normally the guys that seem to be throwing 100% all the time always seem to end up with Tommy John surgery just because that's putting so much stress on that elbow. But, yeah, like Davis just said, there's so much depth in that bullpen. That's why they could trade away Kimbrel and still have so many guys. That's why, obviously, it's disappointing for Crochet to go down, but they got so many options. Like, White Sox are going to be just fine, and we'll be talking about that later.
Yeah, we definitely will. And from one bad news to another bad news, of course, now DeGrom is shut down for a month, and he's set to miss opening day. Is it going to be just a month? I mean, this is something – unfortunately, the Mets have been able to see to fruition. Every year they seem to add these pieces. But before we get to that, I mean, what are your thoughts about DeGrom? Do you see him being healthy? Will we see him be himself again? I guess I'll start with Jake this time.
I hope so. DeGrom is obviously the best pitcher in baseball right now by sort of a wide margin, just throwing 100 miles per hour with 95 mile per hour sliders. It's absolutely insane to do that as a starter. But yeah, it's really disappointing to have him go down. I hope he misses just a month. This is not like an elbow issue. I'm pretty sure it's his shoulder, but I saw Brandon McCarthy, former MLB pitcher, tweet that this injury should be named after him. Apparently he probably had it a couple times or so, and he said it wasn't too bad. So let's hope it's just a month. Let's hope DeGrom comes back and destroys the league for a while, especially for my own sake, since my first two picks in one of my leagues was Tatis and DeGrom. So that's not looking too good at all.
I was just about to ask, didn't you draft him in your big big league with pitcher list?
Not going too well. Yeah.
Yeah. That's yeah, it's unfortunate. And the Mets, I know Scherzer is dealing with I think it was a hamstring thing too. So I think they already penciled in Chris Bassett as their opening day starter. I mean, it sucks. DeGrom's always going to be like this, is what it seems like. He's always going to miss a little bit of time, but when he actually does pitch, he's the best pitcher in all of baseball. I'm hoping it's just a month. As a neutral fan, you obviously want to see Jacob DeGrom tear up lineups. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's another big loss, especially to opening day.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, the Mets, they were very aggressive with picking up a lot of depth, so they do have some guys to hold the fort, and they have a really good pitching rotation, but DeGrom makes it complete, so that's going to be definitely interesting to see how they rebound from that. And so let's get away from the negativity and all these, injuries for now. Moving forward, Merrill Kelly, he signed an extension with the Diamondbacks, 2 years, $18 million. What do you think this is? Is this more of just let's just have him set? We got a lot of work to do here. We don't want to worry about our third or fourth starter. Let's lock him up for the next 2 years. Do you still see him as a trade candidate? Because there was a lot of talks about him being a trade piece. Start with Davis this time. What are your thoughts about this extension here?
I don't know. I think the extension is more or less just kind of buying the last few years of his arbitration. He's a good pitcher on a Diamondbacks team that didn't really do anything in the offseason. So I don't know. I think it's more of a kind of a decent move. Nothing really to write home about. I know Merrill Kelly is a pretty solid pitcher. Didn't have the best season last year, but he pitches in that division and with several major hitter sparks and the Padres lineups who just beat the hell out of opposing starting pitchers. So I don't know. I think it's not a major bit of news, but good news nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kelly was one of those guys that came over from overseas. He pitched in I think the KBO for a couple seasons after he sort of didn't have success in the major leagues, and he was pretty solid. I think last year was his first year, unless I'm wrong, and it was 2020. Either way, he already has his contract set for this year, so this will extend him from 2023 through 2024 with a club option for 2025. So I don't know. I don't think he's going to be on the trade block. Obviously, the Diamondbacks are going to be looking to get whatever prospects they can get. But if you remember, they signed Melanson, they signed Ian Kennedy. Those are guys that could easily be traded for prospects come the trade deadline. And so not a huge deal, like Davis said. But it's interesting that they were so set on keeping Kelly in town for the next 3 to 4 years. So we'll see. Let's hope he's around for the next good D-backs team.
Yeah. His first season was in 2019.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. He only pitched a little bit, but still 2019. Former SK Wyvern. Love the KBO, so I always get to talk about it.
Hey, he nets himself a little chunk of change, right, for his service, and playing with Arizona, there's going to be some tough times, so at least he's going to get paid for it. Speaking of Arizona, former Diamondback, we saw that Justin Upton has finally been DFA'd. It's been an underwhelming time with the Angels. Well, the Angels have been an underwhelming team, so I don't really blame him. But what are your thoughts? Is this the end for the man Justin Upton, who's making $28 million this year? Do you see him being a pickup, perhaps for someone looking to roll the dice? I mean, he could still bring you something. Jake, I see you nodding your head. What you think?
Yeah, I think Upton's definitely got more life in his bat. I think the Angels finally got the balls to start DFAing guys. You saw that last year when they let Pujols go, and he eventually went to the Dodgers, which was good for his career. And now he's on the Cardinals. Didn't have that in the rundown, but that's a pretty notable one, back to where he belongs. But yeah, Justin Upton, I think he's still got some life in his bat. He's actually not that old. I think he's like 35. So that's really not like super old, like Pujols was in his 40s when he was DFA'd last year. But yeah, like I said, the Angels got the balls to DFA their former stars now, so that's sort of going well in that aspect. But I think he could fit with like a few teams. The Padres could end up bringing him back like they need some help in the outfield. The Giants obviously always seem to be a great fit for any veteran looking to fix their career, and the Dodgers obviously are one of those teams that seem to just sign everybody, so that's also a possibility. But yeah, there's a lot of places where he can go because he doesn't have to be a starter.
Right. I think he fits mainly as like a platoon bat, just off the bench bat.
Yeah.
I think he's still going to be around for a couple more years. He destroys left-handed pitching. He kind of always has. Even last year, he was still pretty good. Even when he was struggling, he had 89 at bats and he hit 7 home runs, 20 hits. Didn't hit for a very high average, but didn't strike out that much. Walked 17 times. I think he'll probably catch on somewhere as part of a platoon. I've been banging on the door for several weeks about the Boston Red Sox signing a right-handed hitter to platoon with Jackie Bradley Jr. I know Jake said that they plan on playing JD Martinez in the field a little bit against lefties, which I think is a horrible idea, and they should just go ahead and sign Justin Upton. I think he'll still be around.
So let's see what happens. I don't want to give the Red Sox any more help though, so let's avoid that. But moving forward, now we got a signing an extension again Emmanuel Clace with the Cleveland Guardians. They signed him to a 5-year deal that could potentially turn into a 7-year deal. Reminds me of the Brett Garner thing from last year, where it's like signing to a 2-year deal, but with a 1-year buyout. So you're going to get this amount regardless of what you do. So is there much to be made about this? I mean, the Guardians are they got a lot of controversy around their name, around their team in general, and they're not looking so well for the future of the team. So what are your thoughts about this one right here? And what does this say about them? Davis?
I think this was a good move from Cleveland. They obviously didn't really spend that much in the offseason, and they never do. The Dolans are horrible owners, but this is a good move.
Mine too.
This is a good move. He's one of the better closers in all of baseball. He mainly just throws the cutter, and the cutter is one of the most disgusting pitches in all of baseball. He throws it over 100 miles an hour. Hitters just don't barrel him. And Cleveland just developed pitchers like nobody's business. He's really good. And the extension, like we said, is basically obviously adding on through his control, but they're going to have him for a while. And the rate was pretty cheap. I didn't think it was that bad. I think it was 5 years. I think you said 5 years, 20 million, plus incentives, a 7-year extension, buying out the 2 years of free agency, which he'll probably will because the Guardians won't be competitive. I don't know. What do you think about this one, Jake? I know he's probably a really big fantasy baseball pickup at the moment.
Yeah, because saves get pushed up so high in fantasy baseball. So I think this just sets him up as like the guaranteed closer for years to come. I think the 5-year part of the extension buys out his renewable years and arbitration.
Yeah.
So, and then the 2 extra years that are added on if the Indians decide to keep him on with club options would be buying out the 2 years of free agency, like you said. So I think he's going to be around for a while. He's going to be the closer for a while. And if he can avoid the crochet path to Tommy John surgery of throwing 100-mile-per-hour cutters, then he should be one of the best in baseball for years to come. So this is pretty exciting if you're a Guardians fan. I mean, not much else to say. He was a former Ranger, got the Rangers hat on today. He's amazing. He's really fun to watch.
Who did the Rangers trade for him? Because, man, I feel like they lost that one pretty bad.
I can't recall. Oh, it was the Corey Kluber.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible trade.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was not a good trade.
Worked out for Cleveland.
Made a good decision.
Worked out for Cleveland in that case. At least they got something to hold them over a little bit. You got something to watch, at least a fun arm to watch. This one, I don't know how I feel about this one because the Yankees were involved with Sean Mania. Everything for me revolves around the Yankees and how my team is doing. He is traded to the Padres for the 12th and 26th prospect in the Padres system. The Padres look really good with this trade, in my opinion. And now you got a rotation of 5 that might be seen as a little underrated because there was a bit of an underperformance last year. But I don't know. The offense, especially if Fernando Tatis does come back, hopefully, for my fantasy team as well, he does come back healthy. But what do you think about this trade? I mean, I really like this personally. I'll start with Davis. What do you think?
I like this trade for the Padres side. I don't really love this trade from Oakland side. I feel like they didn't do very well in this trade. They got the number 12 and 26 prospects that were in the Padres system for a pitcher that is penciled in as the 5 for the Padres, but he'd probably be like a 2 or 3 and probably even a 1 on a couple teams. He's just a like pretty solid, like the A's. I don't know. I think this also opens up the door for the Padres to try to swing a trade that would include Chris Paddock. And I don't get that one either, but I think Manaea is really good and will tie them over. He's probably the best number 5 starter in the league, maybe competing with Yusei Kikuchi. I think he's obviously better than Yusei Kikuchi, but I like this move from San Diego's standpoint. Hate this move for the A's standpoint. They have not made the best trades this offseason, getting rid of their young stars.
Yeah, this is super disappointing from a Bay Area sports fan like myself. Manaea was really good last year. His first full breakout season was really nice to see. And now he's gone. The A's literally have maybe 1 player left. I think their highest paid player going into next season is Steven Piscotty. Yeah, exactly. A little bit laughable, but super disappointing for him to go, especially for like not the biggest prospect haul. I know he only has 1 more year of control. He's going to be a free agent after this year, but hopefully that number 12 prospect, I think it's Arubiel Rodriguez or something like that. Let's hope. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Angeles. Yeah. Thank you. Let's hope he turns out pretty good. But I think the Padres made this trade because Mike Clevenger, who's on his way back from Tommy John surgery, is dealing with knee soreness. So he's going to start the season on the IL. The Padres felt like, hey, let's add another ace to replace our fallen ace and just add to our full rotation of aces. But yeah, like you were saying, it does leave them open for more trade opportunities going forward. They could package Paddock and Hosmer together, maybe get a big bat, or maybe just trade them away for somebody small just to clear up roster space and cap space to get Michael Conforto or somebody like that. Pretty interesting for the Padres. Definitely makes them a lot better. They're going to need it though, because like we're going to talk about later, that NL West is tough.
Oh yeah.
I think that might be one of the toughest, maybe the toughest division in baseball. But
yeah, that in the AL East.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But it's tough because I'm a Jets fan and a Knicks fan. We struggle with our team, right? We're talking different sports here. Mm-hmm. But yeah, being an A's fan, like it's one thing to be bad.
Sorry, Jake.
Consistently.
No. I got two teams. We're good.
Have the team in front of you that could potentially compete, and then it's just wiped away. It's not like there was contractual issues or anything like that, as far as I see.
Yeah.
Anyway, so from bad trends to a trend that I really do like, we have a lot of top prospects that we're not going to have to wait for anymore. So I don't know who's threatening these teams. Look, forget this service time manipulation. We're going to get everybody going. We got Torque. We got Bobby Witt Jr., Julio Rodriguez, Nick Lodolo. I don't know if I said his name right. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
so I like the trend, especially, Jason Dominguez is ready in a couple of years. I don't want to wait. I just want to see that he's ready to play. So, I mean, all these guys are pretty exciting to watch. I'm thinking I'm ready for Nick Lodolo because I've been holding him in my fantasy team for years now. So I'm ready to see this play out.
Huge.
Who are you most excited for, Jake? And just your thoughts on the overall trend and who's up and what do you think?
Yeah. Well, looks like the new CBA is working perfectly. It's getting teams to call up their top prospects when they're ready. And right now it seems like these guys are all ready for opening day. I think the guy I would have to say I'm most excited for is Julio Rodriguez. He's one of those special talents right now. I think he's the number 3 prospect in all of baseball behind Adley Rutschman and Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt's number 1. Torque is number 4. I'm super excited for Julio. He seems like the next Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto, one of those guys, one of those international guys that comes up right away and just turns into an immediate star. He hasn't played above AA, so it's going to be interesting to see how he plays, especially in a park like T-Mobile Park that's not too great for right-handed hitters. But he's going to be a star, I hope, right off the bat. Another guy that I'm really excited for is Torkelson. I just drafted him in my home league draft last night, so that should be pretty interesting. I obviously want him to do well because he's going to be on my team. And like you said, Nick Lodolo and Matt Brash, both of them are really good. They were amazing in the minor leagues last year. The Reds have already called up Hunter Green, and they're going to add Lodolo to that on the opening day roster, so that's going to be super interesting. Brash is one of those guys that not many people know, but if you look at his stats the last few years, he's lowered his ERA at every single stop. And his ERA in the MLB last year in a short sample was 0. So that if he follows that trend this year he's gonna be posting a negative ERA for the first time in MLB history.
Yeah, I love these moves personally. I mean, you see in the past teams will hesitate to call up their top stars when they're ready. I.e., the Chicago Cubs, Chris Bryant is probably the most egregious example of this. And everyone wants to see top prospects. It's one of if you're a casual fan for baseball, most casual fans don't care as much about the draft because they don't get to see those guys for 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. And now you're finally getting to see them. And hopefully with this new CBA, you'll get guys up that when they're ready and not, like Jake said, when they're ready and not when the team decides that they're ready to start using them. Personally, I'm really excited for Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, he's obviously the number one prospect in all of baseball. Potential next top shortstop in the league. He's just really fun to watch. But all these guys, it's really, really cool to see because they're all in the top 100 prospects. So all these teams are calling them up when they're ready. Matt Brash has already looked the real deal. I know the Orioles would have followed in their footsteps too with these guys and called up Adley Rutschman if he wasn't dealing with an elbow injury. Mm-hmm. So I just love seeing all of these guys. It's hard to pick just one. Hopefully not Nick Lodolo. He's probably at the bottom because I don't want to see him tear up the Cubs. But
it's gonna be exciting.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a really nice trend because when you talk about the lower market teams, what do they really have to look forward to? It's seeing their guys flourish in front of their eyes. So I'm ready for this. Now, we got through all the talks. We got through all the news. Now it's time to get some predictions. That's just what we do. It's just natural. We want to predict how everything's going to turn out. We're going to start with the divisions. We talked about one of the toughest divisions in baseball, the AL East. You know, before I give my prediction on the what do you think? Who's going to win the AL East this year?
I think it's pretty clear. I think a lot of people are gonna have this pick here, and it's Toronto Blue Jays. I had them as the World Series favorites heading into prior to the lockout in January when we made really way too early predictions on the MLB season. I had the Blue Jays as my World Series favorites, and then they went ahead and added one of the best third basemen in baseball, Matt Chapman. They added Yusei Kikuchi. They added a little bit to the bullpen. They traded away Reese McGuire today too, so they got that guy out
Zach
of here.
Collins.
Yeah,
I got Zach Collins back in that trade.
Yeah, so they've got lots of interesting stuff going on. The Blue Jays were already favorites. They've got one of the best young lineups in baseball. Now they have a rotation that's incredible with some of the best starters in baseball with Gausman and Barrios and Manoah, and so that's going to be really interesting. I've got the Blue Jays heading out the AL East as champs.
Can I just say ditto to whatever Jake said because I've chosen the Blue Jays too. They're the clear favorite. I mean, the only other team in my mind that is stacking up with them in that division, and it's still like a big step between them two, is Tampa. Tampa's the only other team that's going to give them a run for the money in that division. The Blue Jays, for my money, are the best team in the AL. Maybe the best team in baseball. I mean, we'll talk about our World Series predictions later, but I think you're going to see a little bit more Toronto Blue Jays around that time.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of ran by some of our answers early on just to see, but there's no real disagreement here. I mean, Tampa Bay, like you said, probably the closest favorite. Yankees right there too. So moving on to the AL Central.
No.
Listen,
I don't know about that.
A lot of what ifs, okay? If these ifs plan out. Anyway, moving forward. The AL Central, again, I feel like this one is almost, especially now with how the standings is looking out. I mean, I will say I want to see what Detroit does with Torque, and they do have some players there that could get kind of interesting. But what do we have for the standings? Davis, you did mention something earlier that
okay. I think the White Sox will win the division, but I don't think the Minnesota Twins will be that far behind. I think they'll be on their heels the entire way. The Twins have obviously come out as one of the biggest winners in the entire offseason, signed Carlos Correa, new number 4, C4. Carlos Correa. They traded for Sonny Gray. They also signed Dylan Bundy. They have a bunch of guys in their rotation that are young guys that are relatively unproven, but have a lot of signs pointing to them being very good. Bailey Ober is probably the number 1 out of those. He's looked really, really strong last year at points. Their lineup's due for a rebound. You've got guys like Gary Sanchez, Gio Urshela, Byron Buxton when he's healthy plays like an MVP candidate. I really like the Twins too. I don't think they're going to necessarily be a World Series favorite. I also am not particularly that high in the White Sox either. They struggled at times last year to really get it going. I'm never really going to get behind Tony La Russa as a manager, especially not in today's game. So I don't know. I like the White Sox to win the division, but I really wouldn't count out the Minnesota Twins.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah,
I'm in the same boat. The White Sox seem like favorites. We seem to be going with the chalk here for these first two, taking the favorite in the division, all of us choosing the same team. But yeah, the White Sox are set. Like we talked about earlier, they have an incredible bullpen. They have a really solid rotation headlined by Giolito, Dylan Cease, and some other guys. But they're really good. They have a really good lineup too. I think they're the favorites. That division isn't super competitive. It hasn't been the last couple of years. Like you said, the Twins made a lot of additions, but they sort of have a little ways to go to get back to where they were in 2019 when they set the record for most home runs in baseball. But other than that, I think the Tigers got a chance. Obviously, they got Torque coming up. They made some offseason additions in Baez and Eduardo Rodriguez, so they could be pretty interesting. But yeah, White Sox definitely clear favorites for the AL Central.
Yeah, so I mean, I again, ditto. Dilly. So moving forward, I agree there again. So now the AL West, this is where it does get interesting. It could go a lot of different ways in this case. It's not so much of a – I mean, you can't count out the Astros even with losing Correa and Greinke. They still have their team. They still have a nucleus. But I don't think I have them winning the division. But I do want to see where Jake goes first because you, my friend, go for it.
Rangers. No, I'm kidding. A's. No. Angels. All right. Yeah. Let's go with the Angels. I saw who you guys picked. So I said, I got to go with somebody else. And honestly, I think we're showing a little bit disrespect to the Astros after they were in the World Series last year. It's sort of easy to forget that somehow. Yeah, they did lose, but I'm going with the Angels. If they have everybody stay healthy, they should be amazing. They have Shohei Ohtani. They have Mike Trout. They have Anthony Rendon, Jared Walsh. They also have David Fletcher, the meme god. But yeah, they added a ton of starting
your team.
Yeah, David Fletcher. They also added a ton of pitching this offseason. Pretty much every single one of their moves, like 90% of their moves this offseason, were adding pitchers. They added to the bullpen. They re-signed Iglesias. They added Noah Syndergaard. They added some other starters. So I think if everybody stays healthy and that rotation can just be all right and the bullpen can just be okay, they're going to score enough runs. Like if you have Ohtani headlining your rotation, leading off for the lineup, he's going to be super fun to watch. And if he and Mike Trout can just pair full seasons together, watch out for the Angels in the AL West.
Yeah, I know me and Isaiah have the same pick, so I'll go ahead and start. I think I chose the Seattle Mariners to win the division, and part of the reason to choose the Mariners is obviously the romantic. You want to see the young kids do it. You want to see Seattle finally make the playoffs after not really being there for most of our lifetimes. I like the Mariners roster. I mean, they obviously added Robbie Ray. Julio Rodriguez is a huge ad coming up. He's been taking reps in center. Jared Kelenic hopefully can bounce back from a disgustingly bad season last year. I really like a lot of their guys in the rotation too, like Marco Gonzalez. I think he's really underrated.
Robbie Ray, Cy Young winner. I'm hoping the Mariners win the division. You want to be romantic about the perennial underdog Seattle Mariners. Like you said, I'm not very high on the Astros. They made the World Series last year, but I mean, they lost Greinke, they lost Correa. Correa's, in my mind, the de facto leader of that team. Almost like. I know Altuve's there too, but I don't know. You have to rely for me on Bregman bouncing back and a lot of other guys picking up some slack from where Correa has now left, and a lot of young guys. I know they had a lot of younger guys, especially in the rotation and the bullpen, kind of pick up slack last year. Need to rely on them repeating. I like the Mariners, but I think the Angels are a good pick too. What about you, Isaiah? Why do you like the Mariners?
I'm with you on the Mariners too, and it's the main thing because they have so much depth, right? Like there's things that can go wrong in this team, and they still have guys that could come in and step up. Like looking, Kyle Lewis is one guy you wanted to see healthy. That's one guy I was banking on in my fantasy team. But you still have a really nice, like you said, you got Kelenic, Rodriguez, Haniger, and they just acquired Winker from the Reds. You got Suarez, which has a high upside. You never know, he could just blow up. And I like having Abraham Toro on the bench. He could fill in, I think, as a good starter. You got Ty France at your first base. Like they have from top to bottom. You got Paul Sewald in the bullpen. It's not
the bullpen is crazy.
Yeah, with Diego Castillo and Ken. I mean, from top to bottom, this is looking like this is almost looking like what the Blue Jays were a couple of years ago. Like they just got to put it together, but they might do it. And like you said, I mean, I think the Astros. Hot take. Sometimes I get on these hot take moments, and I don't know. I say things that don't make sense, but then later on they play out. So hear me out. The Astros might finish in third place next year. Okay?
Ooh,
yeah.
Write that one down, guys.
Yeah, that may. Let's write that down because look, there's been some NBA bold, D takes on 3 coming after this. We're gonna look at some of our bold predictions from early on this year. I made something similar about the Lakers, okay, and they worked out. I'm telling you, you lose your leader. Like Davis, give credit to Davis for saying that. Correa was the guy. He was the one that was on the front lines, like speaking in those interviews when they were caught for their scandal. They lost a heart, or the lack thereof, from their leader in Carlos Correa. So,
right. I mean, Carlos Correa for me. I mean, he played the supervillain. Like he took almost all of the brunt of the sign stealing scandal in my mind because he was the one that talked about it and basically just said, "Yeah, we did it. I don't care." To me, he just takes a lot of the umph of like the bad guy aspect of like, the Razor Ramon factor. They take the Razor Ramon factor away from the Houston Astros, and I don't know. I'm not as big on them this year. I completely agree with you, Isaiah. I think they might finish in third next year.
Yes. So hot take, you heard it here first. All right. So moving on from the American League, we're going to go to the National League now with their new DH and everything, the remodeled National League. So let's start with the NL East. What do you guys have for winning the division? I'm going to start with Davis. Who do you got?
The World Series champion Atlanta Braves is who I have winning the division again. The Braves, everyone talks about the Mets. They added Scherzer, they added Canha, they added this, they added that. The Atlanta Braves are just as good, if not better. Matt Olson, they lost Freddie Freeman. Everyone thinks like, oh, well, what are they going to do now? They traded for Matt Olson. I mean, Matt Olson's a stud in his own right. Added to the bullpen, added a little bit to rotation. Should be getting was it Ian Anderson, Kyle Wright back. Hopefully Charlie Morton will come back. I'm pretty sure he's still with the team. I don't know. Austin Riley was an NL MVP candidate last year. If he repeats, I think it'd be hard to take away from the Atlanta Braves winning the division. They didn't lose that much. They'll get Ronald Acuna Jr. back too. I mean, they won the World Series without their best player. Exactly. Like their best hitter sat on the sidelines while they won a World Series. To me, getting him back is bigger than any free agent signing they possibly could have made. That's all I have to say on the matter.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. Braves are I think the favorites in this division, even if the Mets might have better odds. Everyone knows lol Mets gonna Mets. You know, they're gonna shoot themselves in the foot. They already have. They let Scherzer go 90 pitches in his first spring training start, and he's already dealing with injuries. DeGrom is out. Who knows what's gonna happen with the rest of the team? So yeah, pretty hard to root for not hard to root for the Mets. I think a lot of people are rooting for the Mets unless you're a Yankees fan or a Braves fan. But yeah, I think the Braves are the favorites again. I know you can't count out the World Series champions. They didn't really get worse. They have a really good rotation. They have a really solid bullpen that could get better with other guys coming back from injury. And that lineup is still really good, even after losing Freddie Freeman. Like you're getting Ronald back for most of the season after he was out for half of the season last year. You replaced Freddie with Matt Olson, like Davis said. I think the Braves are set to win this division again.
I hate that I have to do this. I was not looking forward to this segment at all, this particular part. But look, this is how I'm going to set this up. This is a win-win situation for me, okay? If I'm correct about I have the Mets winning the division, then I could have bragging rights and say I was correct. If I'm wrong, I get to laugh at the Mets for once again floundering as they seem to do every single year. And it's the best show for me to watch and to see my people around me, my family, to suffer in there when the Mets fall apart. But looking at it, at least on paper, oh my goodness. You got, DeGrom, of course, I do think he's going to come back at some point, at least for the playoffs or like towards the end of the season. You got Scherzer, Bassett, Walker, Carrasco. Like maybe you could do some work at the end of the rotation, but then they still have a decent bullpen, though. Edwin Diaz is like, he's like Dogecoin. Like you don't know what you're going to get from him today or tomorrow. But then you got, of course, you got the polar bear, Pete Alonso, and you got Canha. All this talk about the free agent signings that they made, but there's one guy that I think they're gonna that is officially arriving. They signed him last year, and that was Francisco Lindor. I think he arrives this year, and he's looked pretty well in spring training. So they're gonna be revamped. They're gonna look a lot better. They've taken the old-fashioned Yankee approach, and I can't wait to see it. If you guys are right, and that they do crash and burn, but I just do not see it. I think the Braves, look, there's also such a thing as World Series hangover, and regardless, I know talent-wise, Olsen is great, but you did lose the heart of your franchise, in my opinion, which was Freddie Freeman. Still going to be second, in my opinion. Like, they're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be a factor in the playoffs, but I think the Mets are going to be really good for the regular season, and they will choke later on in the postseason. Moving on.
They better hope they don't, because Jacob deGrom announced today, speaking to reporters, that he's still planning on opting out of his contract at the end of the year. So, they really needed to make a push this year and hope that it goes well, or else they might lose deGrom. And then that's just back to, like Jake said, law Mets. It's like, I don't know. So I'm hoping the Mets don't Mets, but I think they'll Mets.
They always do.
I hope they Mets. All right, so moving forward. Now we got the NL Central. I think this is another.
Oh wait, no, you're right.
Yeah,
my bad.
NL Central. This is another one of those leagues that's just like the AL Central, which is like, I mean, we kind of know who's gonna win. I mean, it could go another way. I mean, the Cardinals, you can't completely sneeze on them, like. Jake, who do you got?
I got the Brewers. I think that's the chalk pick here as well. They like top 3 of the rotation is incredible. They got some guys in the bullpen that are really good. Josh Hader, Devin Williams. They have a solid lineup that they added Renfroe to, Andrew McCutchen, obviously. They could have Keston Hiura finally show what he's made of, and they have my NL MVP sleeper, Willy Adames. So I think the Brewers have a good chance, and I'm not too confident in the rest of that division. Obviously, the Reds traded away everybody. The Pirates suck, horrible, but and the Cardinals won 18 games last year and barely snuck into the playoffs. So yeah, that's the only other team there is the Cubs, who made a lot of changes this offseason, but they also let go of their whole 2016 World Series team last trade deadline. So I don't think the Brewers have much competition here, and I think they've got an easy path to the NL Central crown.
Right. I completely agree with that. I think the Brewers are going to win the division, even though that pains me to say. The rest of the division just doesn't really square up with them. The Cardinals didn't really add much. I mean, they got Steven Matz and Albert Pujols. Like, who cares, really? I think the Brewers are the best team in the division. Their last MVP, Christian Yelich, had a horrible season last year. Pretty much a net negative on their team, and they still won the division very handily. I think it's theirs to take again.
Yeah, I hear you. I do want to say this. Look, 2 things. First, the disrespect. Who cares? Albert Pujols to the, that's gonna be great.
It'll be cool. It'll be cool to see the first time, and then I really don't care about watching that grandpa lumber around the base again.
I want to see 700 this year. All right, but besides that, Clint Frazier, comeback player of the year. Okay, I'm rooting for him over there in Chicago. Okay, and look. I might not be far off. You give him some playing time, I think he still has potential.
He's been good in spring training.
Yeah, so comeback player of the year. But yeah, again, we're all in agreement here. The Brewers, I think we got them there. Now this one, we're all in agreement. I like in terms of like who, but it could literally go either way. You got 2 elite teams right here. So I'm gonna start with Davis. Who do you have winning? In my opinion, might be the toughest division. I think it is tougher than the AL East, in my opinion. Who do you got?
I agree with you. I think it is the toughest division in baseball. And as much as it's going to make Jake hate me for it, I think the Dodgers are going to win the division.
Tomato.
I kind of struggle with this because I don't want the Dodgers to win the division, but I think they will. I mean, like the Giants made all these ads. We talked about it on our last show. I think the Giants are one of the biggest winners of the offseason. So many ads. But then the Dodgers are like, oh, yeah, we got Freddie Freeman. And now we got Craig Kimbrell, if he's still worth anything, Danny Duffy, and all these like just really good bit part players that are just gonna. They got Hanser Alberto, who's gonna somehow put up like 3 WAR. Like the Dodgers they win, and it's annoying because they always win, and I'm tired of it. I know Jake's tired of it, but I think they're gonna win again.
Boo. I'm going Giants all day, baby. Even if I think the Dodgers are a better team, I can't pick them. I have to pick the Giants. That's like Isaiah like thinking that the Red Sox are better and going with it. He's not going to do it. He can't make himself do it. And I even think the Giants are really good. If you don't remember, they won the division last year, 107 games, franchise record. It was crazy. The Giants are one of those teams where they are sum of all their parts. They know how to get the most out of every single one of their players. They're going to platoon at almost every position. They're going to ride their starters to a bunch of wins. They're going to like use their bullpen super effectively. They're going to send guys up. They're going to call guys or send guys down, call guys up, send guys up. But yeah, they're going to be really fun to watch. And the Dodgers are going to have a run for their money again. Even if they added another MVP, they added another all-star closer. I think the Giants are going to do it. I believe.
This one was the one I was unsure about. Even prior, I'm like, I don't know who I'm going to go with. I got to really think about this one. But I got to tell you, Jake, I think you got a point here. I really don't know. Look, the thing is, on paper, yeah, like this is almost hypocritical of me because I just made a whole rant about the Mets and their signings and all this stuff. But you know what? The Dodgers, for some reason, they just have a way of underperforming, even with all of these pieces that they tend to get. I know they won a World Series a couple of years ago. And I know against the Astros, they technically, they probably should have won that series as well. But they always find a way to mess things up. And I still think they're going to be like, a major factor. But something about the regular season with all these pieces, maybe early season struggles, early players adjusting. I think we're going to see a similar finish to the standings, just as we did last year. And that's going to be with the Giants above the Dodgers. The Dodgers will be heavily ahead in the wild card standings by maybe 20 plus games or something like that. Mm-hmm. But they will be there. So that's what I got. Now we mapped out the playoff brackets. We tend to agree on pretty much everything. So now we're going to get to the playoffs. Let's see. So we're going to skip the ALDS. We're going to skip the wild card tournament, whatever they're going to be doing. We're going to go straight to the ALCS. What is the matchup for you, Davis? Who do you have?
So if you guys have read our way too early predictions for 2022, it's way back. I really liked the Tampa Bay Rays in that. And obviously now, as they're the biggest winner of the entire offseason, I have the Toronto Blue Jays. I think it'll be an AL East matchup in the ALCS. I think it's going to be Tampa Bay Rays slipping in the wild card, make a run. They're like the Giants. They get the most out of everybody that they have, and now they have star power with Wander Franco. I like Tampa Bay. I think they're going to be just kicking everybody in the wild card. I love the Blue Jays. I have to go with this matchup. And I think it would be a really good one, really fun one to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you on the Blue Jays making it all the way to the ALCS, as they're the sort of best team in baseball, seems like right now. And then I got them going up against the White Sox. I'm not really sure how the bracket's going to work out. They might not even get a chance to face each other in the ALCS. They might see each other in the division series. But I think that's a good matchup. I think the White Sox are the second best team in the AL. They have a really good bullpen that makes them ideal for the playoffs. So I've got Blue Jays versus Chicago White Sox.
You see, I agree more with Davis in this case. I definitely got the Jays and the Rays. I think the AL East is the toughest, second toughest division in baseball. So it's going to come down to that for me. You just can't count out the Rays. And you know what? Same thing that I mentioned with the Dodgers. The White Sox just find a way to kind of just fall short a little bit every year, and it seems to be kind of, I know they made some additions. But let's move over to the NLCS. Jake, I'm going to start with you this time. Who do you have?
Hey, I gotta go with my team. I got the Giants, and then I got the Brewers in there. Sorry to the Braves, but I think the Brewers have that bullpen that's going to make them really good come the postseason. We've seen them make it to the NLCS before and get shut down by the Dodgers in the past. So I got Giants versus Brewers. Giants are one of those teams where it's just, hey, it's 2022. That sounds like an even year to me.
I like that.
I mean, it would be fun. But Davis, what do you have? What's actually going to happen?
I couldn't bring myself to pick between the Dodgers or the Giants. I think it's going to be one of those two. I think they're the cream in my mind. They're the cream of the crop in the NL. Giants won the division last year. The Dodgers, you can just look at their roster and just be like, wow, that's ridiculous. I have them against the Atlanta Braves. I'm not going to count out the Braves. I still love their roster. Getting Acuna back, it's just such a big boon for them. It's one of the NL West contenders and the Braves for me.
I didn't really think about this too much, but when Jake started talking about I don't know if they're gonna be able to face each other in the NLCS. All I knew is these two teams are gonna be the deciding factor in the National League. It's gonna be the Dodgers and the Giants. Look, we're going AL East versus NL West. And that's going to decide the World Series, in my opinion. So I had Dodgers and Giants, but I guess logistically, if I had to pick a third team, I would probably go with the Braves as well to face one of those guys. So moving forward, now it's the grand finale, the World Series, everything on the line. What do you have? Who do you have facing each other, and who is your winner? I'm going to start with Davis.
Okay. So piggybacking off of the last thing that I said, the Dodgers and the Giants, I think it's going to be Toronto Blue Jays versus either the Dodgers or the Giants. I put Dodgers in the rundown. For me, I mean, the Dodgers just barely edged the Giants in my mind in terms of being a playoff team. just because that core has been around for so long, especially now adding Freddie Freeman and adding Craig Kimbrell and just getting guys that have been parts of big teams that have won championships is really big for me. And that's why I would have to probably choose the Dodgers out of the two, especially regarding a World Series. And even for my pick to win, I had the Dodgers beating the Toronto Blue Jays.
Ooh.
And the reason I have this is, like I said, just because of championship experience. You know, you get a bunch of guys on the Blue Jays team, and they're insanely exciting. But I mean, they're young, and they only really have limited playoff experience in an expanded playoff field. Apart from Matt Chapman, who's been part of Athletics teams, really, who have kind of floundered in the playoffs. I love the Blue Jays roster, and I obviously hope they do well, and I obviously hope they beat the Dodgers if this is the eventual World Series matchup. I just don't see them edging out the insanely deep, insanely experienced, and insanely good Los Angeles Dodgers.
That's disappointing to hear from you, Davis. I can't believe you joined the dark side.
I got my hater shades on today. They're pointed right at Jake.
Yeah, real quick. I just want to piggyback on what he said real quick because we had the same matchup, but just for you, Jake, just for you, I got the Blue Jays knocking off the Dodgers because why? The Dodgers always seem no way to fumble. Who knows? Maybe the Blue Jays start tracking their pitches from the satellites in the sky, but something's going to happen. The Dodgers are going to flounder. And the Jays just have everything you want in a playoff team. They're young, they're fast, and that seems to be, look at like the Royals, Astros, asterisks, but nevertheless, they all had a similar feel, and I feel like that's just the feel with the Blue Jays. And this time we could see it coming. But Jake, I know you had something different. What do you have, and who's your winner?
Yeah, the only difference I have is I have the Giants in there instead of the Dodgers because I can put them in there. But yeah, I got the Blue Jays win, and I think they're the best team in baseball. I think they got the best chance of winning the World Series and ending the team as champs, or ending the year as champs.
I agree with you there, except for who they're going to face. But moving forward, this was a good show. We pretty much just told you exactly how the baseball season is going to plan out, so there's really no need to watch. Just go ahead, place your bets. Okay, no, don't actually do that. We can't wait for baseball this Thursday. But, of course, it is the end of the show. So what, any closing sentiments, guys? Any closing sentiments? I know we got the closer. Yeah. Did we decide? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We just had one more slot on the season preview that we can do in like a minute. What we're most excited to see on opening day and this weekend in the opening week. I'll go through mine really quick. It's just the prospect debuts like we talked about earlier. I'm excited to see all those guys make their debuts and to see new players in new places. Obviously, the Rangers added a couple guys. That'll be exciting to see Carlos Rodon on the Giants and Freddie on the Dodgers. Boo. But yeah, that'll be excited to see. In the opening day matchup I'm looking for is Astros at Angels. Framber Valdez versus Shohei leading off and starting the ball game. He's going to be insane. That's going to be one to watch. How about you, Davis?
Yeah, I'm just excited for baseball. Just a few short shows ago, it felt like we weren't going to have baseball, and that's still resonating with me. I'm just excited to, for the sights, the sounds, everything regarding the Major League Baseball season. Plus Frank Schwindel and Seiya Suzuki combining for like 60 plus home runs, 60 plus RBI.
Crazy.
The opening day matchup I'm actually the most excited for is the Seattle Mariners and the Minnesota Twins. I know I'm really high on the Twins. I like Carlos Correa, and he's going to get to face off against opening day starter Robbie Ray, Julio Rodriguez.
Let's go.
It's going to be a really new, like you said, new faces, new places. It's going to be Winker, Eugenio Suarez, Correa, Gary, Gio Urshela, Sonny Gray. Should be a fun game. I'm excited for that one.
Is this a trick question? We know who I'm looking forward to seeing the most. Yankees, Red Sox, of course. That is. So I got Yankees, Red Sox, of course. Garrett Cole coming back. I want to see, put all this shade, even from myself. Even I came in with the doubts, look, you take away the spider tech, and now you start blowing up here and there. But you know what? He's going to prove me wrong. Let me just tell you. Josh Donaldson, within his first 3 at-bats, he's going to smack a home run. He's looked really fun. Training. That's going to happen. And we're going to win, okay? We're going to do this. And look, it seems to happen all the time when the expectations are lowest, and it seems to be for even the Red Sox too. I'll give them credit. Anytime the expectations are low, we overperform and we prove everybody wrong, including myself. So I'm ready for baseball in general, though. I'm going to be watching baseball all day on Thursday. Okay, so moving forward, but of course, this would not be free baseball if we didn't have a closer to close it out. We got our guy. if we're gonna go to a guy that we're talking about the A's a lot in their struggles, so we got to give some type of relevance to this team. Let's go back to the past. Houston Street, Jake, what do you got?
Yes, sir. Houston Street is here to close down this podcast, shut down this extra innings affair. Houston Street was a great closer, probably a little underrated. He had a 13-year career from 2005 to 2017. He started out with the A's, went to the Rockies, Padres, and Angels. He's nicknamed Larry, and that's after I had to look this one up because that didn't make any sense to me. After legendary director, animator, and producer of many comics turned to TV shows and movies, Larry Houston. So that was pretty interesting. Larry Houston Street. Never heard that one before. But he was drafted in 2004 in the first round, the 40th overall pick, so one of those extra picks at the end of the first round by the A's out of the University of Texas. He was incredible in college for the Longhorns, and so that led to him getting drafted in the first round as a closer. He debuted the following year in 2005 at just 21 years old with a scoreless inning versus the Baltimore Orioles, and he was amazing right out of the gate in that first year. He had a 1.72 ERA, a 1.01 WHIP, and 23 saves in 78 innings pitched, which is a lot for a reliever. And that led to him receiving the 2005 AL Rookie of the Year award. Pretty impressive first showing for Houston Street. He finished the next season, 2006, with 37 saves, pretty solid. And then in 2008, November 2008, he was involved in one of the biggest trades in A's history. He was traded to the Rockies with Carlos Gonzalez for Matt Holliday. That one paid off for the Rockies and the A's. Matt Holliday was really good for the A's down the stretch run. He ended up signing with the Cardinals after that. I think he was there for just a short time. But yeah, Cargo ended up being huge for the Rockies. Houston Street was really solid for the Rockies as well. 35 saves in 2009, pretty solid. And then just a couple years later, in December of 2011, prior to the 2012 season, he was traded to the Padres for just a player to be named later. So obviously his value had fallen a little bit, and the Padres ended up getting a lot out of him. In 2012, he made his first All-Star team with a 1.85 ERA, a 0.72 WHIP, impressive, and 23 saves in just 39 innings pitched. So he was probably dealing with injuries. And then 2 years later, he made his second All-Star team with a 1.37 ERA, a career best, 0.94 WHIP, and a career high 41 saves in 59 innings pitched. But after that All-Star game, right after that All-Star game, he was traded to the Angels in a 6-player deal. In July of 2014, and the following year in 2015, he finished with a 3.18 ERA, a 1.16 WHIP, and 40 saves in 62 innings for the Angels. So for his career, he finished with 14.5 BWAR, 680 innings pitched with 665 strikeouts. His 324 career saves are 20th all time, so that's pretty underrated. You wouldn't consider Houston Street being a top 20 closer of all time, but he's up there. 2.95 career ERA and a 1.07 WHIP. And Larry Houston Street, he's here to shut down this podcast, send everyone home happy.
Yeah, I have memories with him. MLB 08 The Show. It was one of those guys you would have as your 8th inning when you created your death rotate,
sir.
Death bullpen. So, Davis, any remarks about that before we close up? Are you just ready to get to Thursday? Let's just skip all this.
Yeah, I'm just ready to get to Thursday. Excited for baseball. Hopefully next week we'll be able to talk to you about the happenings from opening day and opening day weekend. That's all we got for today, guys. We'll have to join in with us again next Monday so we can talk about that opening day weekend.
Thank you, guys. Have a good week.